Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. What if I told you the only thing standing between you and your next big opportunity is your voice? This isn't just another program. Empower Your Message is your ticket to becoming the podcast guest everyone wants. You'll learn how to craft a pitch that gets a hell yes, show up with unshakable confidence, and drop truth bombs that leave hosts and audiences wanting more. No more playing small. No more waiting for permission. It's your time to be heard. Loud, clear, and unforgettable. Visit the link in the show notes to sign up, and let's make your voice impossible to ignore. The mic is waiting. Are you ready? Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Jessica Lyonford. She is a more happy coach, a speaker, a consultant, an author, and someone who guides leaders and teams through happy leadership to learn to lead with happiness and alignment. Welcome, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited for this.
I am very excited to have you here. We've been trying and waiting. Actually, we've been waiting a while to get this done. So it's nice to finally have you here. I cannot wait to jump in and share about all the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. So with that being said, let us jump right in. So I guess I'm just going to start out with the obvious first question here. What is and what does a more happy coach do?
Yes. Thank you. That's a great question. So I tell people I'm a happiness coach and consultant. The more comes from my business is called Project More Happy. And my entire mission is to put more happiness, enable more happiness, add more happiness to the world. And so I help organizations and leaders create more happiness in their spaces so that they can flourish, so their teams can flourish. But it's all about creating more happiness using the science that we have.
I love that. And it's a ripple effect when someone smiles. Like you think about when you walk down the street and you see someone, you smile at them, they smile back. It's just that ripple effect from, and the same thing applies for happiness. And I love that that's your mission, is to spread happiness and joy, not just in the corporate world, but just in the world. It's needed now more than ever, I think. So I love that you're doing this work. And so when I think though about the corporate world or leadership, happiness isn't usually the first word that people associate with leadership. So what was the defining or catalyst moment that made you realize that happiness is the missing link in leadership and you're the person that's going to bring it?
Yes. So I came up through corporate America. I actually was in advertising, had a very successful career in advertising. And as I climbed the ladder, I noticed a couple of things. First, my personal joy went down as I climbed up the ladder, which goes against the whole narrative of happiness, right? The more you achieve, the happier you should. So that was my first kind of red flag, right?
Yeah.
The second is that I started taking stock of the leaders that I was working for and under. And you can see this very clearly today, even on the world stage, how it is playing out. We have a systemic challenge of unhappy leaders. And when we have unhappy leaders, it creates systems and structures where we cannot show up as our best and contribute at our highest. We are not happy because our leaders are not, as you just explained, walking down the street smiling and spreading cheer and joy. They're not bringing out the best in us or themselves. And so my personal experience and how I was having to navigate those spaces really called me into a place of wanting to understand better how happiness works, because it was going against what I was told happiness, how it worked, but also because I think we all deserve better. Like we all want to contribute at our highest level. We take great pride when we can, and yet the systems foundationally don't feel like they're set up to support us in that way.
Wow. So growing up, Jessica, what messages did you receive about happiness and success? And how do those early lessons influence the way you teach leaders today?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So my dad was an entrepreneur. It's where I get a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit, my creative problem solving, all of those great things. But he was also a financial guy. He was a financial advisor. And I remember he had this sign over the door in his office. And I think it very much encapsulates kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s. And it said, "The one who dies with the most toys wins."
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now, this was a guy who was trying to help people accumulate wealth because wealth gives you freedom to show up
Yeah.
as your best, to do the things you
Yep.
want, to invest in your happiness in those ways, invest in your communities in those ways. But the takeaway that I had growing up, and I think a lot of people in that generation had, was that material success, material status, what our place was in the hierarchy, determined whether or not we were allowed to be happy and call ourselves successful.
And we know now that is not true.
Right.
And through no fault of their own, the previous generation, this is how they were raised. They were raised that you have to work hard. You have to work your ass off in order to be successful. You have to work your ass off in order to make money and all of these things. And money gives you this. And listen, money does give you freedom. It absolutely does. But wealth is not just strictly finance. It's not just
Right.
money. Wealth is a multitude and many facets of different things. And someone could have all the money in the world and still be miserable. So money is not the be all and end all. It's
Yeah.
ultimately it is. It's about our happiness, our joy, and money to dispel all of these things. Because I was raised, money doesn't grow on trees and all of these things, right? Now, when you think about that, money, when you have money, you're able to give it back, put it back out into the world to help other people. So it is good. It is not evil at all. But it's not everything. It's not the be all and end all. And we need to shift the focus around that. There's so many people living in a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
And we need to step more into the happiness side of things and the joy side of things.
Yes. Money is, I love that you said that. Money is not evil.
No,
We need money.
of course.
Money is a tool. And so when you
Yes.
think of money as a tool under the umbrella of your happiness, you first have to say, what is happiness to me? I had to stop and go, okay, if that isn't happiness to me, clearly it's not. My life is not working the way I thought it was supposed to. So what does happiness and success mean or look like for me? And then how can I use my finances, my situation as a tool to help me live that out in my life? So
It's so funny that sorry,
not
go ahead.
it's not wealth accumulation. It's wealth as a tool for showing up as your best self.
It's so funny, though, how that is tied in and interconnected for so many people that money equals happiness, and it does not at all.
No.
I'm not saying money can't make you happy. Having money can't make you happy. And being able to give money and support with money and put money back out into it's cyclical, right?
Yes.
You keep recycling it. And that brings happiness. Absolutely. Being able to help other people. That's what it's about.
Yes.
We are here to be in and of service to one another. That is happiness.
Yes. And it's interesting because I haven't seen the latest numbers on it, but about 15 years ago, there was a bunch of research on money and happiness because I think it's when we really started, this generation started questioning a lot of these narratives that we were carrying. And the research said that up until $90,000 a year as a salary, money did increase your happiness. But beyond that, it didn't. And there are a couple reasons why. But the most fundamental is that money is more of a survival tool up until that point, right? You need shelter, you need food, you need all of those things. Once you have those covered, adding more money doesn't actually increase your happiness a whole lot because it's not increasing your security. Now, what's interesting is that once you hit that marker, and I'm sure it's a little higher now because of the economy and inflation.
Right.
But once you hit that marker, the really interesting thing I think is that when you ask someone who makes $100K a year, how much they need to make to be happy, they tend to say $150K a year. If you ask someone who's making $150K a year, they want $300K a year. If you ask someone who's making $500K a year, they want $1.5 million a year. The gap in what you want, the more money you make gets larger, which
The
tells
goalposts keep
you
moving.
that money doesn't actually increase your happiness. And when you look at leadership again, a lot of our leaders make more money than us.
Yeah, for sure.
But as we said, they are not happy people. And so that to me is the first sign of saying something's not right from a cultural narrative, from a structural narrative, when we're talking about happiness and how to set one another up for success.
Yeah. It's funny you brought up that stat because I just heard a stat on the weekend and they were asking Canadians what salary they were saying that in this survey, most people were not happy with their salary. And so they asked what salary would make you happy in your job. $76,000 a year would make people happy, they said. But again, when you get there, is it really going to be that? Or are you going to, oh no, I'd be happier with 100. I'd be happier, as you said. And the gap keeps widening and widening. And yeah, no one's happy with that. And it should not be focused on money.
No, but I think the gap widens too because it goes back to material possessions equaling status and success.
Yes.
So the more money we have, the more we tend to spend. And then we need more to keep up with that appearance or lifestyle that we're trying to portray as success. So that's why that gap gets so much bigger. We have so many more bills to pay.
But are you spending it on shit that's going to make a difference in your life? Like, really, have you ever, and I love this saying, have you ever seen a U-Haul being pulled behind a hearse? No, of course you haven't.
No.
Because all of those things, you can't take away. They don't mean shit. It's materialistic crap. It doesn't matter.
It's why I love the longest study that's ever been done on happiness, right? Out of Harvard, 80 years and still going. At the end of the day, the number one correlation they have between someone's life and happiness is the strength of their connections and relationships.
It's everything. It really is. Community, connection, collaboration. Those are the 3 C's. Those are the most important things. We cannot do this thing called life alone. We cannot do this thing called entrepreneurship alone, and nor are we meant to. We are meant to do it in community with one another, with other human beings.
That's right. We evolved in tribes of 100 people.
Yes.
We need those communities because there's this myth that we're all supposed to be great at everything.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be able to carry all the plates and juggle all the things and do it without anything falling. We're all supposed to excel at every single thing that a human can excel at. And that's where a lot of our unhappiness comes from because it's not possible.
Yeah.
We evolved in tribes of about 100 people because we leaned on one another's gifts and experiences and wisdom. We were not ever meant to do it all. And we used to understand that and build society and community around that.
I think the education system has played a huge part in this downfall because it's instead of what we should be doing, in my opinion, anyways, with the education system with kids. And this is where it starts, is with our youth, with our kids. We start ingraining these things into them so that they grow up not knowing any different. But if little Johnny's good at science and so at math, how about we focus on the science? I'm not saying discard the math. Absolutely. They have to get through and they have to learn your basic mathematics skills. Those are necessary in life. But instead of putting the emphasis on, oh, you need to get better at this and you need to focus on this, and no, how about we focus on what he's good at or she and nurture that so that, guess what? They become an expert at that. And sure.
Not only do they become really proficient at that and they can gift society whatever comes of that, but we're not crushing their confidence by them failing in the other areas, or not even failing, just not succeeding, not living up to what's expected of them. And I think we have a huge confidence problem as people, as leaders, as a society on a whole. And you're right, a lot of it comes back to how we educate our kids and the systems and structures there. No kid should be expected to get straight A's and everything.
No, absolutely not. And it's ridiculous, but this is still perpetuated in the education system today.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with it. We need to shift. There's a lot of things, I think, systems in place that I think they need to be burned down to the foundation and start again, be rebuilt. And education is one of them for sure.
Yes, agree.
How do you define happy leadership in a way that goes beyond the surface level positivity?
Yeah, no, that is a super important question because I think A lot of times when I'm first talking about happiness, especially in the corporate setting, especially with leaders, happiness is still seen as fluff, as trite, as trivial. It is under the mindset that happiness is something you get once you succeed. So in the corporate space, happiness, I'm allowed to be happy once I launch the big project and it's a success. I'm allowed to be happy when I get my sales quota for the month, whatever that is. Happy leadership flips that, and it's based on the science and research, and says when you create and design for more positive energy as a leader. So in your own life, I want to create more positive energy for myself because I know that spreads out. And the more positive energy and happiness I have, the more it, as you said earlier, ripples out to those other rings. And I talk about it in terms of the energy engagement impact model. When you increase your positive energy, happiness in the middle, you're increasing engagement. And that means your people on your team are collaborating more. They are coming up with more creative solutions. They're doing all those. They're more engaged in their work. When people are more engaged in their work, the impact is higher. Right? We are more productive when we're engaged. We stick around a lot longer. We're more loyal. So you don't have to pay for the retention, like the overturn all the time. All of those business outcomes we want are actually contingent upon the energy that we bring to our roles as leaders. If we bring negative energy, if we're in that scarcity place, if we're in that fear-based place where I just have to hit my quotas and do these things and my team needs to step up and help me succeed so that I climb the ladders and all that, right? That energy, we're destroying engagement on your team. And then you're destroying the impact. So if we spend more time and focus really understanding and cultivating positive energy in these spaces as leaders, we will blow our impact out of the water.
I've always said, go ahead. Sorry. No, it's okay, Jessica. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there are global studies that actually show this too. Companies that pour into the well-being of their employees regularly outperform the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and all of those other stats that we claim are success as companies.
Honestly, I've said this for the longest time, and it is just common sense what you're saying. But if corporations would treat their employees with respect, make them happy, make them want to go to work every day, value them, show them, and prove to them they are appreciated and valued for what they bring to the table, it will change everything. Absolutely everything. Like you said, productivity, collaboration, all of these things. And one of the most important parts for corporations is the retention piece. You're not having to constantly rehire because people are getting burned out, fed up, frustrated, and leaving. It's a very simple concept, yet so many corporations can't grasp it. And I don't understand why. I get it's just the bottom line. It's the dollar that trumps everything. But that's the wrong way to look at it and approach it.
And if you pour it into your people in this way, your bottom line improves.
Of course.
It's just we haven't started, or we didn't start researching this aspect of humanity, of, they call it positive psychology, of happiness, of what makes people flourish. We didn't start studying that until the 90s.
But Jessica, come on, anyone that looks at this can figure this out. I don't understand. Why do you think it's so hard for corporations to do this?
Because they want the numbers. They want the right brain numbers to be able to justify to shareholders, to whoever it is, that they will get a return on this investment. And because we didn't have the research until recently, even though we know it in our gut, even though philosophers have been telling us this for thousands of years, and every spiritual language around the world has been telling us this for thousands of years, right? We didn't have the data coming in until the 90s. So right now is when we're finally able to say, look, if you spend this much on an employee, you can expect this much return on your bottom line. Mm-hmm. And so now I won't even say it's easier. It is still a challenge to get people to take this seriously the higher up you go in corporate America, in business settings, right?
Yeah.
But we have more data now, which allows, it's the scarcity thing again. It's the fear-based decision-making again. Unless they have the data, they're too scared to rock the boat.
It's through conversations like this and bringing the awareness around these principles that will help move the needle on this. And it's just, we have to continue talking about it. We have to keep sharing work like yours in the world so that people know that this is a real thing. It works. It does work, and it will be beneficial for your organization, corporate, whatever it is, for your life, first and foremost.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
I would think that before they encounter you in your work, many leaders think that happiness is soft or that all of these different things. How do you dismantle that belief and prove that happiness is actually a leadership superpower?
Yeah. It goes back to the numbers. It goes back to the ROI and the data. People want to believe it. People know in their core, most people know in their core that yes, this makes perfect sense because it's how I wanted to be treated as a human. The business world does not function for the benefit of humanity. It functions for the benefit of the GDP, of money, of all of those systems, of capitalism, of all of that. That's not to say those systems are bad. It's that the ends justifies the means.
Right.
And we have to have the data to be able to flip that narrative and say, if you focus on your people first, here is what happens.
But you hear so many companies, and I worked for one of them, people first is part of their motto. Bullshit. It's a lie. It's a flat out blatant lie. It's not people first. You don't give a shit about your people.
Yeah. But they know to get people in the door. That's what they have to say.
Yeah.
I liken it to the greenwashing.
Yeah.
It's a marketing stick,
yes.
is what it is.
Yep,
it is to get people in the door, to say we're doing good. Now, there are companies that do put people first and have built models around it. Like you look at Patagonia, right? Every decision they make is about their employees and the environment. And guess what? They are a super successful company when it comes to the bottom line.
Yeah.
Because they put their people first. There need to be more case studies like that so that more people go, oh, it's not just something I say, it's something I really need to pour into.
Yeah, I embody this. This is what we do. This is what we're about. What do you think and see in your work as one of the biggest myths about happiness that holds leaders and teams back from true alignment and impact?
Yeah, I think it's the same myth that holds us back as people. And that's that happiness is something that happens to us. Happiness is a skill. It is a skill set. And I know we'll get into the 8 pillars of happiness here in a minute, but it is a skill that if we understand how to practice the skill of happiness, we are in control. We have the power. We can create more of it whenever we want. Now, that does not mean we're going to be happy 100% of the time, because that's not possible. That's not feasible. If you understand that it's a skill, even in the office environment, in the work environment, like your team is not going to have high energy all the time.
No.
But understanding that it's a skill means that you understand you can create more of it whenever you need it. So when things are low, when things aren't going that well, or things feel hard, you understand the actions you can take to create more happiness and positive energy.
I love that. And so what do you say to leaders who believe that results, deadlines, performance, all of these markers should come before happiness?
That all the research in the past, we're 30 years now, say the exact opposite is true. The exact opposite. The more you pour into your employees' happiness, the more that they feel seen, heard, and valued, the better they're going to show up for you. And the better they show up for you, the more engaged they are in your mission, in your vision, in your bottom line. And so the higher impact there will be. And so it is the complete opposite of the narrative we've been told. We are taught in business school that happiness happens to us. But like we just said, we create it. And so that means we have to focus on the creation of that energy to get the results we want. It's not the results that lead to our happiness.
And I love that. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to liken this to what a friend told me when I was interviewing her about the healthcare system, burning that to the ground and starting over and shifting and building it back up to what it should be. It's like turning one of those massive Mississippi River boats around. It's going to take that long. It's going to take that kind of time. It's not something that you can just spin on a dime and shift the attitudes and the mindsets of the powers that be, because you can't teach. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yep.
So you've got all of these people in these positions who are the old way of thinking. It's very hard, if you can at all, even shift their mindset around it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time. But It's one of those things where I just want it to happen so much quicker than it's actually happening, because
Yes.
the world, could you imagine if more companies, corporations adopt, the world would be so much more of a better place than we're living in right now. Like, it would shift so many things in the world.
It would be a completely different world. And
It
we would
would.
walk around with completely different energy, and we would prioritize community, and we would choose curiosity over judgment. And we would do all of these things that we want to do. We know in our
Yeah.
heart of hearts that it's how we should be living. But I tell my clients all the time, you can do all the happiness and inner work imaginable. You can practice gratitude every day. You can show up with curiosity. You can do all of that hard work for yourself. But the second you walk into a toxic work environment, it's gone. That is my struggle and the gap I see within the happiness space right now. It is all about you becoming empowered and taking control of your own happiness. And it neglects the idea that we structurally need to address the systems so that people can show up as their best and contribute at their best.
I love that we're talking about this, because right now I'm currently reading Mel Robbins' book, Let Them.
Oh, yes.
And this is exactly the kind of stuff she's talking about. You are in a toxic environment and she's speaking about work.
Yeah.
You're the only one that can change it. You cannot change the way other people think. So you have a choice. You stay in the misery, or you start working on the side, putting your resume out, getting more interviews. And she uses these exact examples, and remove yourself from the situation, because you cannot change or control other people's actions or reactions. The only thing you have control over is you and your reaction, how you react to a situation. So I love that we're talking about this, because it is so timely. And it is, because I was going to say, so how do we deal with this when you walk into a place, you've done the work, you're happy, but then you step into that environment and it's shit, it's obliterated, it's gone. So the only thing you can do is do what you need to do for yourself to keep yourself in that high vibrating state of happiness.
Yeah. And we can't change systems. We can't go in and think we can fix everything. But, and I like to remind people, you don't need a title to be a leader. And when you understand that your energy spreads, you can choose to keep showing up in that high energy, knowing that it will impact the people around you. There's a lot of research that says happiness, it used to be 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Yes.
Everyone knows Kevin.
Yeah.
It's 3 degrees of happiness. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say I'm the happy person.
Yeah.
So my energy right now is affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's the 1st degree. Now you're going to go into the next conversation you have, and my energy is now affecting that person. That person's going to stop at the coffee shop and talk to a barista that you and I will never run into in our lives. Mm-hmm. But our energy is now with that barista.
Yeah.
That's how happiness works. So no, we cannot necessarily be the change agents we want to structurally in a lot of workplace cultures. But our choice is still our choice. We can still choose to show up and create positive energy for ourselves. And we can choose to design our way out of that system.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not advocating for people to quit their jobs if you're at all, but I'm just saying you do have a choice. Everyone has the power and the choice. You can choose to continue to exude happiness. And if it's still not working, then you got to decide what's best for you and what's best for your own mental and well-being.
Yeah.
Period. And that's it. But I want to stress that we always have a choice. Always.
I like to say we choose our hard. We think we're victims a lot of the time. We're always choosing our hard. Staying in a really crappy, toxic work environment is hard.
Yeah.
Deciding to walk away and build something new is hard. Like,
for sure.
You get to choose which hard you want to carry. And when you actively make that choice, you have a lot more positive energy in the direction you want to go.
Beautifully said. I love that. Love it. So now this leads into the 8 pillars of happiness framework that you use in your teachings. Please share.
Okay, so the 8 pillars of happiness are the 8 skills that come up time and time again in the happiness research that can increase our happiness and our positive energy. Now, this comes from, I came up with this because I needed a system for my life, but these skill sets came up in work from behavioral scientists, in work from spiritual leaders, in work from positive psychology, so that the the pattern of them emerging in all these different spaces said to me, this is really important. So those 8 skills that we need to practice are confidence, authenticity, compassion, optimism, gratitude, purpose, feeling, and curiosity. So I like to explain to people, I use basketball as my analogy because I used to play basketball. If you want to become a better basketball player, you don't just say, I'm going to choose basketball, and you wake up and all of a sudden you're a better basketball player. That's how we assume, that's what we tell people to do with happiness. Just choose happiness and you'll be happy. If you want to be a better basketball player, you have to practice your free throws and you practice your 3-pointers and your layups and your dribbling and all those skills that will make you a better basketball player. And it doesn't mean you won't mess up sometimes and you will never be the perfect basketball player, but if you practice the skills, you'll be a better basketball player. Happiness works the same way. If we want to create more happiness in our lives, we have to practice the skills of happiness. And so a lot of us, and I think this is really good, we are innately good at, let's say, 4 of the 8 pillars. Like, I don't have to practice curiosity a whole lot. I am a naturally curious person. Confidence, I have to practice. That has always been a struggle for me. But when you understand that there are skill sets that you can devote time and energy to, and I'm talking 10 minutes a day, practicing the skills of happiness will train your brain to default to some of these actions when things get hard. And that's what we want when we want the ability to create more happiness and design a better world for ourselves and design a life we love. We want the tools so that we can show up better.
Can you just go over those 8 pillars again for me, please?
So there's confidence, there's authenticity. So showing up true to yourself, to your values, to who you are at your core. Compassion, and that encompasses both compassion for other people and the hardest one, compassion for ourselves. Optimism, which is one of my favorites. I used to pride myself on being a cynic. It turns out I'm an optimist. I loved the day I realized that. I think we need a lot more optimism in the world, and especially at this moment in the world, we need to be able to see the possibility in things. And that is a skill to practice seeing possibility, even in really hard moments. Gratitude, that's probably the most well-known of the happiness skills. Purpose, purpose scares people because it feels like big and lofty and you have to know your calling. Purpose is really about intentionality. If I know this creates more positive energy in my life, I'm going to design my life for more of this. It's about knowing and choosing your direction and how you show up. Curiosity. Again, curiosity, what I love about this skill is the more curious you get, the more you can default to curiosity, the less judgmental you are. Curiosity is the antidote to judgment. And then the 8th pillar is feeling, which is everyone's least favorite pillar because we don't like to feel things. But I like to share that we are trained. This is another fault of our education system. But we are trained at like the earliest age possible that the opposite of happiness is sadness. And the opposite of happiness isn't sadness because we need both happiness and sadness. If you ever saw Inside Out, the Pixar movie, we need both of them. They're on a spectrum together. They're just signals, messages telling our body to pay attention to something. Happiness is an action. That's why we need to practice the skills of happiness. The opposite of happiness is actually complacency.
Interesting. Okay.
It's the default mode. It's the not being actively engaged in your life. And that makes sense based on what we talked about earlier. If we are not actively engaged in our life, we feel stuck, we feel stale, life happens to us, we're a victim. If we're practicing happiness, we begin to see sadness and anger and fear as messages, and we're not scared of them anymore. And we start building a life of action and intent toward something that we love and want to be a part of.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
What is one small habit that creates huge ripple effects in team morale and alignment that you see?
I would say the easiest way to shift alignment and morale is to lean into curiosity.
Okay.
As leaders, we tend to, because we're trying to be efficient, we're trying to solve problems fast, we tend to make a lot of assumptions because it's quicker for us to solve things based on assumptions than to stop and see the human at the other side. When we allow ourselves and our teams to get curious about things, we get new perspectives, we get more understanding. Like, why are you late all the time? I'm going to XYZ because you're late, and I'm going to your confidence and all these things in the process, as opposed to, hey, what's going on? I've noticed you're 10 minutes late every morning. It's because my kid's daycare is 15 minutes before I'm supposed to be at work, and oh, okay, let's shift things around. Everyone's set up for success when we lean into curiosity.
Love it. Curiosity it's so important, especially and I talk about this a fair bit when we're having conversations with people, getting curious as to, okay, your belief system is different than mine, or you support this political party and I support the other one, or whatever it is. We're at opposite ends of the spectrum with our opinions and thoughts. Instead of, as you said, judging, how about we ask, how did you arrive at, like, why do you believe what you believe in? Why do you support this? Why do you support that? And actually, now you ask the question, and that's the easy part. Listening is the hard part.
Listening's the
And
hard part.
actually, yes, paying attention and really listening, not listening to respond, but actually listening to be curious as to why you're not here to change. I'm not here to change your mind. You're not here to change mine. And this is another part of having conversations with people. You're not going into it with the mindset of, I'm going to change this person's mind about their beliefs, but get curious and listen to what they're telling you.
Yeah.
It would change so much.
It would change. I like to remind people that we are all teachers and we are all students. And if you go into conversation saying, what can I learn from this person? It changes the entire mood and tone of every engagement you have.
It does. Open heart, open mind, and open ears. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
That's right.
You use this more than you use this, right? What would you say is one of the most surprising lessons you've discovered about happiness and leadership?
That once people start to see how it plays out and impacts their team, they go all in a lot quicker than they can be the most resistant people and companies. But once you start seeing those little bits of momentum, people go all in because it's what we all crave. It's what we all want. Yes. And so the second you start seeing proof, the return of it, you start seeing your team showing up better, they're energized, they're engaged in meetings, like you go, why did I put this off for so long? Why haven't I been doing this from the start?
The ROI, they need that, right?
They need the data. We need data.
What would you say is one of the most common blind spots that leaders have when it comes to happiness and alignment?
Oh, that's a good one. I think people don't generally understand the influence they have on others and the influence of energy on others. And so I think a lot of times as leaders, we feel like we're carrying the weight of the world. And we will carry that into a meeting that's not supposed to be a heavy meeting, or a team session that's not supposed to be heavy. But because we are actively carrying that and not choosing what energy we want to carry into rooms, we are influencing and impacting the work that people are going to do in those spaces. And so I think our blind spot is, without sounding woo-woo, is energy.
You can't talk about these things in corporate for the most part. People don't want to hear it. People aren't awakened enough to take it in and to embody it. And I think if people realized that spirituality and all of these does have a place in the boardroom, I think that would change things drastically for people. It would shift so many things. But again, it's frowned upon. It's not seen as a real thing. But again, and that, I think that one will take a lot longer to bring in and adopt than the whole happiness piece of it, although they are tied in together. So I think we bring in both at the same time.
I think they're definitely connected, but it's going to be a huge shift. It's going to be a generational shift. And honestly, it's going to be a shift in gender in leadership.
Yes.
Because it's emphasizing different skill sets, and we all have different skill sets, but it's a different way of nurturing a team.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. If every leader in the world adopted happy leadership, in your opinion, what would society look like in 10 years?
Oh my God. You know what? Again, everything would change. Everything would change. But I think the most beautiful thing, and why I do this work, is that it will create the space for us to safely show up and contribute in ways that matter to us. We will strip the labels and contortion and all of those things that keep us from showing up at our best. And we're able to contribute in a way where we're cheering each other on, where your success isn't taking away from mine, where we're really, and we mean it, all in this together. We are We are different countries. We are different companies. We have these imaginary borders throughout all of our aspects of our life. But at the end of the day, we are all humans. And I want to live in a world where that becomes the first and most important thing. We are all humans. And I think when we shift the focus onto happiness and creating space and structures and places where people can prioritize their happiness and their energy in that way, that's the world I'm trying to create and that I want to live in. So desperately,
I love that world. And I've been saying this for a long time, that women have had to deal with the patriarchy. And I think now the pendulum has swung a little too far the other way, where women are saying, oh, I don't need a man for anything, and men are this and men are that, and hating on men.
Right.
So I think the only way, in my opinion, again, that we are ever going to be able to get any real work of substance and accomplishment done in this world is if we come together as human beings. Forget man versus woman, female versus male, masculine, feminine, all of this shit. We all have both of those within us. When we can come together, when we first wake up to the fact that, first of all, the men in the world can't do it by themselves, and all the women in the world can't do it by themselves. If we got together, stood shoulder to shoulder, supported each other, cheerleaded each other, lifted each other up, and did it in unity with one another, that would absolutely change everything. It would change the entire game.
Here's what I want to say, though, because I think it's really important to note that there's a lot of this happening out there.
There is.
There is so much goodness and so much collaboration and so many people working together doing this work. It's just quiet work.
That's right.
It's not the loudest thing we're hearing, and we're not being bombarded by it 24/7. And so we don't realize how many people are out there working together to create this vision.
Maybe we need to shift that to start bombarding people with this, and that's what needs to happen, because we're only bombarded with the negativity and the division, the divisiveness in the world. We need to start bombarding people with this kind of shit, because that will help escalate, amplify, and move things along at a better pace, a stronger pace, and more people will get on board with it. I love it. I love these conversations. It is so important to talk about these things. If happiness were a language, how would leaders speak it fluently to their teams?
They would ask better questions with compassion. Okay. That is how we speak happiness as a language.
Beautiful. Imagine you could give one message to the next generation of leaders about happiness. What would it be? Just one message.
That it's a skill, and that you can train up yourself and your team to create more happiness.
You're at your happiest. What's the inner dialogue or mindset that's happening?
Ooh, that's good. That who I am at my core is who the world needs me to be.
I love that. What does happiness mean to you, and how do you protect it in your own life?
It means showing up as myself. And I say that, and that feels very broad, but I say it that way because I am a firm believer, and I have a practice of going back to my definition of happiness every year. And because I think we are different people every 10 minutes because of the experiences we have and how we carry ourselves. We have huge things that take place during our lives that will alter what our definition of happiness is. I think everyone's definition is unique to who they are and the person they want to show up as at their core. And so I think being able to safely show up as that person in my life is my definition of happiness. And I protect it by holding really strong boundaries where I can. I protect it by running my own business instead of being in corporate America. I protect it by creating safe spaces for my kids and me to navigate the world. Boundaries are what protect my happiness. And I didn't have those for a long time, but they're really important.
That's a hard lesson to learn for sure. What question do you wish more people would ask you but never do about happiness, alignment, and leadership?
I think the question, we talked about this a lot already. I think the question is, why does it matter? People don't ask that question. They just write it off. I think if people were to ask me why happiness matters, we would be able to have very fruitful, meaningful conversations like this, where once you hear the importance of it and how it can impact not just your world around you, but our world collectively, once you hear that, like everyone wants on board with that.
Yep.
But we're too afraid to ask about happiness because of what it might say about us.
We need to dispel all of this bullshit. And that's what these conversations do.
Yes.
And to enlighten and bring awareness around it so that people know that, hey, this is possible. We can do this.
And it matters.
And we are doing it. And it does matter. Absolutely. It's everything. It is absolutely everything. So important. It's integral. If every leader on the planet could take only one truth from this conversation that we're having today, what would it be? What would you want it to be?
That you have a lot more power and influence than you think. And you can create more happiness and more joy in your life with that power. You are not a victim. You are in control.
Love it. Now, as mentioned at the beginning, you're an author. Tell us about the book you wrote.
Yes.
The title, the inspiration.
Right here. It's the Happy Leader Playbook. It's a science-backed guide to supercharging energy and impact. It goes through the 8 pillars of happiness, the framework for happy leadership. It is not something to sit down and read. It is something to actively engage with and implement and trial and error in your life, in your world. I think a couple of the things that make it very different than other leadership books is it speaks to the whole human experience. So yes, I am a leader at work, but I also exist outside of work. So the book is broken into the 3 sections. It's broken into home life, work life, and our relationships, because we can lead in all those spheres. And then the other thing it does is it has over 150 power-ups in it, which power-ups in my world are ways to implement the different pillars of happiness and skill sets. So if your team, let's say, is really struggling to hit productivity quotas or whatever it is, you can flip to that section in the book and you can read a whole bunch of power-ups that you can literally turn around and try on your team the next day or that day. These are not things that require spending money or having a lot of time, because they're rooted in those 8 pillars in the skill sets. They're just different ways of approaching work scenarios, life scenarios, relationship scenarios, to give you different ways to test out what's going to work for you and your team.
Utilizing and practicing the tools we already all have within us. It doesn't cost you a cent.
Doesn't cost you
time to practice them. That's it.
That's what I try to explain to leaders all the time, is this doesn't cost you a whole lot to implement. So why wouldn't you invest in your people in this way? Your ROI is going to go up and it's not going to cost you a lot of money.
Exactly. And invest in yourself.
Yes. Show up better for yourself. That's right. You don't have to burn out as a leader. That's the narrative.
When you do that, you are giving a permission slip to others to show up.
Yes.
And be who they truly are as well, and step into that and embody it. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
That I don't give up. I have this vision that the world can exist this way. And some people think I throw spaghetti against the wall to see what fits. It is just, I want more people to know and understand this so much that I am resilient in my approach to getting this message out there. And I am tenacious about it. And I do it for the work and not for any fame or glory or profit on my end. It is because it is so important.
You believe it. You embody it.
I do.
That's it. How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
It's the same as happiness to me. It's so funny because the more I did for myself in this space, the more I realized that success is your vision of happiness. It is your definition of happiness. So it is my ability to show up as who I am at my core and contribute to the world in that way.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
It means building spaces and places and environments where other people feel as though they can show up as their best selves and contribute in ways that are meaningful to them.
I love it. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So those grouping of questions should be 1, 2, 3 word answer thing.
Okay.
What is your favorite place on earth?
The Rocky Mountains.
What is your secret or hidden talent?
Ooh, I don't know. It's not really a talent, but my secret passion right now is learning to play the ukulele. I love it. Brings me joy.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Happiness. How to create more happiness.
What is one of your guilty pleasures?
Chocolate.
What is the one word that sums up your mindset?
Optimistic.
One book that changed your life?
The Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama.
Okay. One word that defines the woman you are becoming?
Brave.
Beautiful. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. If you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your ethnicity, your nationality, your religion, all those bullshit day-to-day superficial markers. Yeah. How would you introduce yourself to me?
I am someone who loves my life and wants everyone else to as well.
Beautiful. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
What's your favorite food?
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Tacos.
All right. If you had the opportunity to have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Right now, Heather Cox Richardson, because she's a historian here, because I want her perspective and take on happiness in the historical setting, in how we've built this country and this part of the world.
Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Be kinder to yourself.
Beautiful and important. Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your corner of the world, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
That we have a lot more power than we think we do as humans, and we can show up better for one another, and we can show up better for ourselves and our world. And all we have to do is prioritize our happiness and practice it and choose to show up better for ourselves and each other.
Beautifully said. A wonderful way to end the interview. Jessica, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. It has been an absolutely thought-provoking, inspiring conversation. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to sit down and share in your story and your journey. And of course, the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. I appreciate you. I'm grateful to call you a friend and to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Brad. This has been a joy. It's been joy.
I've loved every minute of it. I just want to spread joy and happiness.
Let's go do it. Let's go do it. All right, let's do it.
Once again, my name is Brad Welch, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Jessica Lyonford. She is a more happy coach, a speaker, consultant, author, and someone who guides leaders and teams through happy leadership to learn to lead with happiness and alignment. Thank you so much, Jessica. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at viseuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.